trying to teach young people the insight of the wise, to live their lives disciplined, keep their head to the sky, living right, just and fair, but not just fairly well, sharing knowledge with the youth in all of ATL. And when some people may claim you're insane, on the brink of insanity, I love it when they say it because it brought out the brighter me. I was a borderline genius on the brink of ingenuity. Wait a minute, almost missed it, because you never once believed in me. Good afternoon. How are you all doing today? I am so excited to be here. And as you can see from my entrance, I traditionally don't do anything traditional. I am Anashay, known to some by Anashay Teach 'em Right. That is the name that my parents gave me, so I've kept it. And I'm excited to be here. I've learned very early on that it is just easier to be authentically me. You know, we're in an industry where diversity, equity, and inclusion have been the catchphrases, one of the most popular three-word phrases that we hear now. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. But very rarely do we discuss what the heck does that mean? And what does it look like when it's played out in our schools? To me, it's all about the diverse dimensions of your authentic self. We put this pressure on educators to be diverse and to be inclusive, but if you cannot embrace the fullness, the diversity, the dopeness of your humanity, then how can we do that for the diverse students that enter our classrooms every day? For me, it's about, authenticity is about the intersection of identity, integrity, and our actions, and how they line up. How does the identity of who I am, my integrity, and my actions align every single day when I am given the opportunity to impart knowledge and wisdom in the hearts, minds, and souls of the humans that come to our schools every day? I thought it was cool. Someone asked me, Anashay, what are the dimensions of your diversity? I said, oh, let's see here. I wake up feeling like Beyonce, Nikki Giovanni, if there's any members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in here. I knew it. But then there's also that Bill Gates side of me. Yes, I have an inner Bill Gates. So I show up in meetings like a white man some days, like that's how I twirl. But then there's Andre 3000 of Outkast and Toby and Wigway. Yay. Yeah, hey, right? And so what I hope in this conversation today is that you can understand is that video that you saw was over almost a decade ago, and ain't nothing changed. I'm still Anashay. I am Anashay the poet. I am the Anashay the educator, the mother, the wife. I am authentically me. And that's what happened when I met my students, the new nerds. There they go. These are, my real students, right? Because we didn't have anything else to do but take pictures, right? First year of teaching, when I entered the classroom and I saw my children, I saw reflections of myself in each and every one of them. I saw the diversity, the dimensions of their humanity, and I wanted to harness that and embrace it. The new nerds were my first year students. The year was 2006, and the song that I wanted to play for you all was Believe in Yourself. We had 2 albums, but it started off as just learning in class. And what I learned very quickly is that kids didn't care about candy and stickers. They cared about people, and they cared that you saw they're human. I remember it like it was yesterday. The year was 2006, and I transitioned out of the for-profit sector into education. Took a test, boom, I'm a teacher. No formal training, just provisionally certified. I got excited because I had been given a learning cottage. Congratulations, Ms. Wright. We're excited to have you. You get a learning college. Okay, really good. It was a trailer. They had called the trailer, and I'm walking with purpose, right? And only to get to my trailer. But anyway, it was a learning cottage. And they say, students say, whoa, you out here in the hood. You out here in the ghetto. That's what they say. I say ghetto stands for getting higher education to teach others. That is what the ghetto is. Check yourself. The bell rang, and I walked into the classroom. Lunch money, which I fumbled, didn't know what I was doing. 24 students looking at me, And I'm looking at them like, for real? Is this what I signed up for? No, seriously, I hadn't internalized any academic standards. I didn't know about frameworks. I didn't know where to find anybody's standards. I didn't know about unpacking them because I was still trying to unpack my car. I didn't know about lunch money. I didn't know about this and that, but all I knew was that I was tasked with educating the minds and inspiring the hearts of these 24 students. I'm sure a lot of you can recall this yourselves. How many of you on that first day asked yourself, really? What did I sign up for? Can I see a show? Can I get an amen up in here? Amen. Right. At the same time, I was excited about the journey ahead. And little did I know that I was viewed by many as unorthodox and disruptive, right? I didn't know that was a thing. To some, I was that, but what they learned and what I learned was that it would end up being life-changing, not just for the students, but for myself. I believed in each and every one of my students, and I believed every last one was destined for greatness. And I knew that it was my job to align my instructional practices to that belief. Otherwise, it would have been merely lip service. However, I knew that I could not meet that goal without deeply understanding the humanity of every child. I couldn't be an effective teacher without being in alignment with students' greatest hopes, dreams, fears, and the visions that their families had for them. Because, see, these babies were the family's most prized possessions, and every day parents send us their best. I was committed to both understanding and honoring the hopes and dreams of students and their families without judgment. I wanted to ensure that my students left class on a path to actualize those dreams. All I knew was that I had 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 180 days to give them my very best and to leave them with something that lasted beyond my immediate presence. That is what drove me. I believed in the promise of every child, and I believed that relationships and their humanity was the entry point to rigor and deep learning. It's simple. When you deeply understand a person and develop mutual respect, it frees the brain and makes the brain feel safe. And it frees the brain to want to learn more. Trayvon, pictured in that video, he was the one, he said, I do it every day. That's Trayvon to the right there. Yep, that's Trayvon. I wanted to create a learning environment where diversity of thought, interests, perspectives, all of those things were valued. And so the first week of school, I had every kid and every parent fill out a hopes, dreams survey. And a lot of people do that, but I took it seriously. I could not plan a lesson without understanding where kids wanted to go. So I did that, and so it was time for class, and so I said, everybody gather around, we got information on hopes and dreams survey. And sure enough, here's Trayvon in his strongest voice. When I grow up, I want to be a rapper. I said, oh. Secretly, I was excited. Because, see, I, too, grew up in a family full of writers. I grew up in a family of poets and performers. Trayvon immediately brought me to a place of a young James Baldwin or a young Langston Hughes. See, I knew that the deep level of thinking that goes into a rapper's ability to analyze the world is the highest level of intelligence. See, the mental process of synthesizing this information and using literary devices like similes and metaphors to create a story of their own, a story both delivered in written and oral form. Just like Dr. King, Tupac, and Nipsey Hussle, it's pure genius. And to top it all off, the art and science of understanding the ratio of beats per minute to ensure that you are aligning the lyrics to the music is truly the demonstration of the highest levels of thinking. Thinking that is both evaluated and assessed by peers and strangers who critically analyze each bar in the form of a performance that requires memorization and reciting of dope lyrics. That's right, I was excited because I knew a child that could demonstrate this level of thinking and confidence in the third grade was well on his path to being a leader of his life. After my outer body returned back, because that's where I went somewhere else, I did. I looked Trayvon in the eye, and I said, if this is what you truly want to do, I think it's amazing, son. But because great lyricists and musicians and performers are all great readers, thinkers, and writers. If that's what you want, let's get started, because we got work to do. Trayvon's story is similar to the thousands of kids that I have taught, because I have taught every grade level, K through 12. I've taught at the college level. Everybody had a story. By the end of the first week, I had spoken to every parent. I had something positive to say about every child. And I knew what parents aspired for their kids. That increased my accountability. Because my mama raised me, when you know better, you do better. And so now that I knew better, I was accountable to doing better. I still didn't know about previous test scores, discipline records, a snapshot. I didn't, because that's just a snapshot of a person. I knew about EpiPens. I knew he had nut allergies. I knew the critical things. Now, let's be real. We don't want no kid passing out. But that was it, seriously. And not for the first 2 weeks. I didn't touch it, because I didn't want another teacher's story to become my story. And I wouldn't want anybody to judge me on a snapshot of my life. We don't teach test scores. We don't teach discipline. We don't teach referrals. We don't teach IEPs. We don't teach good kids one way, bad kids. We teach human beings, and it's not up for discussion. There is a time and a place for academic metrics and assessments, but over-reliance of data would delay the critical element of success, understanding who these kids authentically were. It allowed me to love the dimensions of their diversity while seeing reflections of myself in each and every child. Do you all see reflections of yourself in every child you serve? When you look at your students, do you see the same abilities that your children have? Trayvon told me he wanted to be a rapper, and I was committed to doing that. I wanted kids to understand literacy as a weapon against injustice. If you truly want kids to have power, teach them. Then when things not going right, sit them down and learn how to write an email to a principal, to a leader. That's what our writing class looked like. In third grade, you want to know what my templates and graphic organizers look like? College applications. My third grader was asking me, what's a GPA, a GPA? I said, now you're thinking. Now you're thinking. Now you're thinking. We don't get to assign a value to their hopes and dreams, ladies and gentlemen. The question is, every day you go into a classroom, you have power. You do. You have positionality. You can make or break a kid's life. What will you do with the gifts, the power, the positionality that has been given to you? Today I'm not here to motivate you. I am here for a call to action, from awareness to action. Reflecting back on that brought me back to my first year of teaching. Brought me back to when I was in school. I was 15 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was asleep in class yet again. Get your head up. I lifted my head. Get your head up. If I can't sleep in class, you can't sleep in class, young lady. I didn't know it was a competition. But I clearly was winning. So I politely looked up, rolled my eyes, and put my head back down. Get out of my class now, Anashay. She didn't think to pull me aside, ask me what was going on. She didn't let other kids get started on work and then come talk to my human. She led with her policies. She prioritized policies over people. She insisted that I get out of the class because what I felt at the time was that she saw a defiant, lazy, unmotivated student. She had made a judgment about me and didn't know what was going on. For too many students, this event happens, and one trip to the principal's office can become detention, suspension, or worse. We end up inflicting practices on kids that pushes them out of school quicker than it pulls them back in. I was halfway to the office when I was stopped by Miss Austin, a paraprofessional at my school. She saw the look of frustration. Well, hello, ma'am. Your teacher just buzzed the office for me to come get you and escort you to ISS in school suspension. What happened? Oh. I explained that I'd fallen asleep again, and Miss Austin knew it was not the first time. Why are you falling asleep and acting out so much, she asked. I paused and just looked at her, the same way my students looked at me that first day. I wasn't interested in her questions. If I could have punched the wall, punched her, I would have, but I didn't. People loved Miss Austin, but I didn't trust anyone. I didn't trust anyone, and I was scared. I was harboring something that would have put my family in a really bad place, so I just looked. She broke the awkward stare down and said, well, I see this conversation is not going nowhere fast. I think there might be something deeper going on. And she said, let me grab Principal Schreckengoss, not because you're in trouble, but because we need to have a conversation. And I said, fine. So she went and got Miss Austin. She went and got Principal Schreckengoss, but I need you all to understand the nuance here. This was a black paraprofessional who felt empowered to bring in a principal. And this was an 8th through 12th grade school. So there were several students, but in that moment, I felt like I was the only one. They cornered me in the office, and they looked at me, and so Miss Schreck came in, a very regal white lady, tall, haircut flawless, glasses on the nose. What's the problem, Anashay? Miss Austin came and got me. What's going on? I still stared. I felt myself well up and get so angry I wanted to punch something. But something happened. Seeing these two ladies side by side, one looked like me and one didn't, but both saw my humanity. I fell to the ground and I said, my mother is dying and I don't know what to do. You see, my mother had been diagnosed with cancer, and I didn't know what to do. And I think I probably would have been more engaged had I found a way that they connected literacy with me writing someone to get financial assistance, or if science was connected to an actual cure for cancer, I probably would have been engaged. But nothing about school. School was a barrier for me, and nothing was relevant to what was going on in my life. I caught 2 buses, 2 trains in Metro Atlanta to work at McDonald's making $3.70 an hour. And you talking to me about sleeping in your class and some Pythagorean theorem? I don't even, what? I fell to the ground and said, my mother is dying and I don't know what to do. They weren't prepared for that. They paused and tried to keep it together. And then Miss Austin said, look here, we are sorry that you are hurting. You carry the burden that most grown folks don't have to carry. But your brain works. Your mother needs you. Your brother and sister need you. So you better rise off of that ground like Lazarus rose off the dead. When your black teacher say rise and start putting Bible scriptures in there, you like, and I was just like, oh. And Miss Austin, she didn't try to, Miss Principal Schreckengoss stepped back and let Miss Austin do what she did. The principal was even in formation. I think the principal even rose up. And Miss Schreck said, I tell you what, she said, we got you. It wasn't just lip service. They put supports behind me. Beulah Baptist Church had a food pantry. We had organizations come up to the school. They raised money for my senior dues. There was a wonderful organization that came to the school once a week to do mentorship for young ladies. It was an organization called Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. That's what we do. The impact of these ladies as I was 15 years old, impacted me to want to go back and serve the same way that they had served me and the young ladies in my community. What will you do with the gifts, the power, positionality that has been given to you? See, we can talk about curriculum, and I get these, because I can slice and dice you on learning progressions, instructional shifts, like I know it, baby. I know it. But you will get nowhere if you don't look at a child and see they're human. That changed my life. That changed my life. Unfortunately, my mother passed just a few years after that, but she saw me graduate. She was 39. You never know what a kid is going through. What will you do with the gifts, the power, and the positionality that has been given to you? See, I had external supports like my family here today on the front row. My best friend from that picture since 4th grade is right here. My little brother, my aunt, they're here. I had external supports, but I needed something for the 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, 180 days out of the year. And Harvard in 2015 talks about a statistic, just a kid having one trusting adult is game-changing in the academic setting. I was committed to being that for any kid that came in my immediate presence. I had a great year. That year, I finished up. My first year as students, we had a great year. And I went on out of education to do some great things. I worked for organizations like TNTP. I trained teachers, worked alongside district partners, but even that wasn't enough to save me from being disrupted. See, today I plead to you all, self-disrupt or self-destruct. And by self-destruct, I mean you're gonna spin your wheels trying to do this tactic, that tactic, this, when you refuse to look at your humanity first, embrace all the dimensions of you. We ain't perfect, and I wasn't either. But I embraced that. And I know the sum of us is more powerful than any one of us. I had given so much to kids, other kids, professionally. I did all this, but I wasn't exempt from the need to be disrupted. It's not about the color of your skin per se. Now, that's a touchy conversation. But what I want you to understand is this. With Principal Shrek, she didn't change who she was. She remained, and she embraced all the dimensions of who she was as a white woman, the good, the bad, and the ugly. She owned the power and the privilege that she had, and she used it to do something bigger than her. That's what I'm saying. Harness the power and positionality that you have, because we all need each other. We all have the power to disrupt. And if we don't, we'll continue to fuel the 5.8 million young people that are neither in school nor working between the ages of 16 and 21. They're called disconnected youth. But before they become disconnected, they become disengaged. Disengaged. Attendance drops. They're failing multiple classes. They're withdrawn. And for the elephant in the room, let me be clear. Just because you're a person of color does not exempt you from needing to do your self-work. Because the kids of color in school today will become teachers. And so if they have experienced oppressive environments and internalized racist ideas about people that look like themselves, that's a whole nother issue. I highly recommend you read Ibram X. Kendi's book. He says the real black on black crime is black people thinking that something is wrong with black people. We all better check ourselves. I was not exempt from disruption, guys. Out of everything I did for children, disruption came knocking on my door at my dinner table with my 4-year-old. You see, I thought I had arrived. I had found this nice private school because, see, the schools I was fighting for were great for other children, but wasn't great for mine. I was looking for core knowledge curriculum, somewhere where the rigor is what it needs to be, something where the cognitive lift is what it needs to be. We want kids to grapple with the text. Rigor, 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 rigor. And I found that. And don't get me wrong, I believe in high quality instruction, don't get me wrong, but on a whole nother level. My daughter came home and said she didn't want to be black no more. She was at your finest Christian school with mostly white people because that's what I had assimilated into. And let's be clear, new levels, new devils, we all assimilate. If we agree that whiteness is the northern star, in order to survive, you have to assimilate. I'm just saying there's levels to it. And every day I work hard to assimilate a little less. My daughter came home with this from school. Dark means I'm a sinner, dark means I'm a sinner, dark means I'm a sinner and I can't get in. White means wash clean, white means wash clean, white means wash clean, and I can get in. 4. All of that hard work is like a punch in the gut. It's like a punch in the gut. These were colors. This was an activity from school. And so now, when I interview a school, I take this piece of student work sample, and I say, if you see one of your teachers giving this out, how would you respond? I took her out, and I put her in an African-centered black liberatory school because I needed to help my daughter understand that our history didn't start with slavery. And I don't do that to make race the northern star. I do it to disrupt the counter narrative about what we've been taught to believe. I don't wake up. Nobody wakes up, I think, just saying, hey, I didn't wake up saying, hey, I want to just be out to get white people. No. I was disrupting the narrative that had been fed to her at 4. I'm not making this up. She went to African-centered school and she fell in love with herself. Oh my gosh, she fell in love. She got an award for being a unity builder. And you know what? All her friends are of every color of the rainbow, but she does not have white friends that have to die to her blackness. She says, Mama, I can see pieces of myself in every colored person because I love myself first. What will you do with the gifts that have been given to you? We got to get out the matrix. We got to get out the educational matrix, y'all. Yes. It's about the collective. We have got to do better, including myself. I left it all to go back to the belly of the problem. I taught every grade, I trained teachers, superintendents, advised, won numerous awards, all of these great things. Vice presidency of a national organization. I went to the mountaintop and went right back to the valley. See, I needed to be proximate to the problem again. I did. I was making decisions and I wasn't qualified to make because I was 8 years removed from what was happening in the day-to-day work that you all are leading daily. So in my company, I went and I built a multi-tier intervention system for a school district in Metro Atlanta. And we saw amazing things happen. The very kids who they told me would never learn, they rocked it out. They rocked it out. They told me these kids wouldn't read. In 3 weeks, when I saw a kid that was argumentative, I said, oh, that's a great debater. When kids cursed, I didn't run to a policy handbook. I'm a critical thinker. I said, oh, they cursing? Let me shift them from chronic cursors to collegiate conversations. I doubled down on literacy. I doubled down on books. We read The Hate You Give that actually had curse words in it. My kids were like, damn. We didn't know damn had an N in it. Weird. They didn't. I used to joke with them. I said, real G's move in silence like lasagna. They didn't get it at first. Finally, they got it. Oh, they was like, it's not lasagna. It's lasagna. Yeah. We did. We doubled down. When a kid was struggling, if a 10th grader acts out in every math class, you might want to see if they know multiplication facts before you put them out your class. And instead of pushing them away to ISS, why don't you figure out a system to double down on enriching them, making sure that they get the foundational their skills, close the learning gap so you can accelerate learning? I'm confused. I'm confused. I'm so confused. We better check ourselves. Self-disrupt before you self-destruct and harm the lives of others. I leveraged the spirit and passion behind every student. Within 45 days, this subgroup, 100%, 100% had IEPs. Of course, 1,000,000% black and brown boys, right? Because we already know this story. But 100% brilliant. And you show me a disruptive kid, I'll show you a genius. You show me a kid that's interrupting your class, I'm gonna show you a brilliant mind. Because we have to focus on the promise of every child and not the problem. We prioritize the humanity in every child. We replaced overuse of punitive discipline tactics with high-quality, culturally responsive texts. We learned that the sleeping, disengaged child was really a sensational innovator. We knew that an argumentative child was born to be an authentic disruptor or future lawyer. We supported students in shifting from dependent learners to critical thinkers because we knew their lives depended on it. You see, I don't apologize for causing a righteous ruckus. I'm a troublemaker, but with purpose. Disrupting systems that keep kids failing, like that's what we're not going to do. And it's not about another resource or another thing. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. Kids are becoming triggered by schools because you got a kid that can go home and build and do something with technology and do it right, and they come to school talking about what, guided notes, where? And they're not cognitively engaged because we don't understand the deep levels of their genius. They're brilliant. What will you do with the gifts, the power, and positionality that has been given to you? I'm talking about the big and small moves you make every day. See, that's what authentic disruption is about. It is about the moves that you make within the sphere of your influence. It's about how you move every day in the hallways. It's about those snap judgment decisions that you make that could change the trajectory of a child for better or worse. Will you push them through and to impacting their communities, or you going to push them to the prison and poverty pipelines. You got a hell of a lot of power. Please, think about that. If it had not been for Miss Schreck and Miss Austin, I don't know what would have happened to me. And it was what they did to disrupt in that moment that changed the trajectory of my life, my academic life. My passion is a bit stronger than most, but it has no choice but to be because so much is at stake. I embrace disagreements with policy and decision makers in order to create new possibilities for students. I will not allow students to feel like they are destined to fail. I want them to experience joy in the academic setting, even after failures. My commitment to ensuring children win is deep and wide. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough to keep me from fighting for you. Pathway to disruption, it begins with you. Embracing the dimensions of your humanity. Guys, we are perfectly imperfect, and you better rebuke the idea that you have to be perfect. None of us do. But we inherited a system that pushes that on us. We inherited a system that was inequitable by design. Understand your history from the 1730s. Read the education of blacks. We inherited. None of y'all, was any of y'all around in the 1700s to build the policy? No. But you either are a perpetuator of it or a disruptor of it. Yes. So let's be real. Self-disrupt starts with you. Nothing, DEI, none of that is going to work unless you deal with you. And be honest with yourself, like I was honest with mine. I was hurting my own children. The collective, the sum of us is better than any one of us. If I got a white brother that knows about funding and know how to speak white people, guess what, Bill? Let's help me go and get this funding. I got Mr. Lopez that's bilingual. What's up? What's up? Let's get this money. Let's do it together. You got to commit. And you got to disrupt. What are the small and big moves you're going to make Monday? Leaders, how are school discipline policies pushing teachers to over-rely on punitive practices? Yes. See, everybody just a widget. Got it? And teachers, who was that one student you done already counted out and you still got 3 to 4 months left in the year? He ain't gonna do nothing. Child, please. Be real with yourself, people. The Inova Collective, which is my education consulting firm, that's what we do. That's where they get the Olivia Pope of education. We create safe spaces for leaders and teachers to think about innovative, unorthodox practices to move the needle tomorrow. Kids can't wait. I'm not waiting, and I'm not apologizing. Because when I leave this earth, I want to say I don't got nothing left because I gave it all while I was here. So what happened to these scholars? 2006, my babies. By the end of that year, my first year teaching, 100% passed social studies, 96% passed ELA and reading, 38% exceeded. 92% passed on the state test, math, 46% exceeded. You couldn't touch, scores were a byproduct of deep critical thinking. I was finished with standards by March, what? We was having tea party, CRCT? Yeah, we're gonna make a little song. But the song without high quality instruction didn't matter. We weren't entertaining people. It was just a way to reinforce. You could not touch it. All 24 of my parents signed a petition for me to loop up with kids the next year, and I gained 3 weeks instructional time because I already knew where they were, and they did it again. As a collective of disruptive educators, we know that we are on the right track to manifesting and empowering learning environments every child deserves when we align our integrity and actions to the belief that ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep us from fighting for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Yeah.